Alright, let's keep it a buck. Every time we talk about slavery, civil rights, or black freedom movements, there's always that one person in the back like, not all white people. Okay, cool. You actually right. So today, we showing love to 10 white allies who stood 10 toes down, alright? Let's get into it. At number 1, we got John motherfucking Brown. Every time you say his name, you gotta say it just like that, cause this man didn't play. Dude really pulled up strapped, ready to snatch chains off black folks. Not these chains, these chains.
He had worked on the Underground Railroad much of his life. He terrified white Southerners. If one abolitionist could come south with this in mind and put guns in the hands of enslaved people, others could.
He wasn't naturally a violent person. In fact, he was very religious, very Christian. He was just driven to an absolute fury by the fact that it looked like slavery was legally entrenched, almost in cement.
In 1859, John Brown led a raid at Harper's Ferry trying to start a full-blown slave rebellion. Feds caught him and they hung him. But his last words? Y'all not done hearing from me. Make sure y'all pull one out at the cookout for John motherfucking Brown. At number 2, we got Elijah Lovejoy. Imagine being a journalist who speaks the truth so hard that angry white mobs burn down your printing press. 4 times. Yeah, that was Elijah Lovejoy. He printed anti-slavery articles in Missouri and Illinois. He was constantly threatened, but he wouldn't back down. And he ended up paying the ultimate price. He was murdered by a mob in 1837. Dude was literally killed for telling the truth. The first martyr for freedom of the press in America. At number 3, we got Viola Liuzzo. She was a white housewife from Detroit with 5 kids, who saw Bloody Sunday on TV and said, nah, I gotta go down now.
On that day, approximately 600 civil rights supporters attempted to march from Selma to Montgomery. The group, led by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, barely got started when they were attacked by police officers using clubs and tear gas.
Viola Liuzzo joined the Selma marches, drove black activists between protest points, and was shot in the face by the KKK while doing it.
The next day, 4 KKK members were arrested for the killing. One of them turned out to be an FBI informant and was protected from prosecution. The other 3 were acquitted by an all-white jury on state charges related to the crime.
Let that sink in. A white woman from the North murdered in the South for standing up for black lives. That's the kind of ally you don't forget. At number 4, we got Reverend James Reeb, a white pastor that marched in Selma, Alabama, got attacked by white supremacists for standing with Dr. King and died from his injuries. He didn't even have to be there, but he knew where he was needed.
There were many people who seemed to feel that once we had the March on Washington and once we had the Civil Rights Bill, things were just inevitably going to be easier. That somehow we'd done it. We are going to have to really take upon ourselves a continuing and disciplined effort with no real hope that in our lifetime we're going to be able to take a vacation from the struggle for justice.
Shout out to Reverend Reeb. At number 5, we got Anthony Benezet, a low-key legend. French-born, Philly-raised teacher who taught black kids in the 1700s. Like, way before it was remotely acceptable to teach black kids in school. In a time when a black man could have his fingers cut off for learning how to read. Yeah. Benezet founded one of the world's first anti-slavery societies, the Society for the Relief of Free Negroes Unlawfully Held in Bondage. Salute. At number 6, we got Angelina and Sarah Grimké. These 2 were born into Southern slave-owning royalty, but they wanted no parts in it. They moved north, spoke out against their own family, and wrote letters to government officials. And they faced all kinds of hate because of it. But they stayed loud. Ain't no comfy Karens over here. That leads us to number 7, Theodore Dwight Weld. This man was like the ghostwriter behind the anti-slavery movement. He trained hundreds of abolitionists to debate and destroy pro-slavery arguments like it was verbal MMA. His work inspired Harriet Beecher Stowe to write Uncle Tom's Cabin, which Abraham Lincoln called the book that started the Civil War. Oh yeah, and Weld married Angelina Grimké, so I'm sure they was giving their white neighbors all kinds of problems. At number 8, we got Levi Coffin. Y'all ever heard of the president of the Underground Railroad? That's Levi.
The Underground Railroad wouldn't have worked as well as it did without some non-black allies operating stations and highlands. 2 of those allies were Levi and Catherine Coffin. When they had their home built, they knew it would be a station on the Underground Railroad already. They had the home built with trapdoors, false walls, a hidden attic, and nearly every room has 2 or more exits.
This man and his wife helped over 3,000 enslaved folks escape. The man turned his own house into a freedom station. Respect. At number 9, we got Ann McCarty Braden. Ann was a southern white woman who broke ranks, bought a house in a white neighborhood for a black family, and got charged with sedition because of it. Sedition. For selling a house. She was like, y'all, wow, and kept organizing with black activists until the day she died. At number 10, we got Reverend Bruce Klunder. He laid his own body in front of a bulldozer to stop them from building a segregated school. They didn't stop, and he died right there, fighting for black children to get the same education that his children could get. That's next level love and a sacrifice I personally won't forget. Being an ally ain't about a hashtag. It's about risking comfort, calling out your own people, and standing 10 toes down for what's right. And with that being said, we've had many white allies and their contributions were massive. Drop a name in the comments that we should add to the list. Make sure y'all like the video and subscribe to the No Lodge, because we will be dropping gems for y'all on a regular basis, alright? Till next time. Peace.